Comparing yourself doesn't work. It doesn't even make sense. Most people don't experience an overnight success. It just looks like that on social media because they get to the point of working on something for years, realigning, restructuring, pausing, getting unsure of what they want to do, doubting themselves, starting again. And then finally they get to the point where everything aligns and they blow up. Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome to Rooted in the Cosmos, your podcast for all things spiritual leadership, higher consciousness, and New Earth vision. My name is Isabel Gloria, I'm your host, and I'm welcoming you to this brand new episode of Rooted in the Cosmos. I'm uploading every Sunday, so if you are new here, welcome to the community, welcome to the podcast family. I hope you're tuning in every week from now on. Every Sunday, new episode. Mark it in your calendars. I recently started working with a new group of clients in a new round of the Cosmic Wonders Mentorship. The Cosmic Wonders Mentorship is my signature offer where I help aspiring spiritual content creators and aspiring spiritual business owners to find the clarity they need to really step up and birth their business, including their first offer, and show up on social media. And I want to talk about the 7 fears that all lightworkers share, because I've been reminded so much of these fears while working with this new group of clients. It's something that I notice all conscious leader going through and having to conquer. And I really want to bring your awareness to these fears because I feel like a lot of people feel really alone with them and they feel like they're the only ones having them. And that couldn't be further from the truth. I've already worked with a lot of women who wanted to start a spiritual business and who successfully did so, but they all had to move through these fears and they were surprised when they realized that all the other women in the group had these exact same fears. So in this podcast episode, I want to bring awareness to these fears, and I hope I can give you a little peace of mind and a little relief to know that everyone you may look up to, every content creator you may really like, has probably moved through these fears before they became really successful and before they were able to show up as powerfully as they show up now. The first and one of the most powerful fears out there for conscious leaders and content creators is the fear of judgment. So many women are so scared to be judged. And as a spiritual woman, you may fear that by sharing your beliefs and your wisdom online, you'll be met with skepticism and criticism or even ridicule from others, even from people you know, and especially from those who don't share or understand your spiritual path. You are not alone in this if you have this fear, if that is something that is holding you back from actually posting content or from actually even realistically thinking about starting a spiritual business. This fear of judgment often stems from past experiences of feeling misunderstood or even dismissed, and it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with you not feeling comfortable sharing your spiritual truth. It may feel like that is the reason, but more often than not, the actual reason why you fear the judgment is that you have a wounding from an earlier time in your life where you felt really misunderstood, where you felt pushed away for what you expressed as your truth. So in order to overcome this fear, it's not a thing that can happen overnight, but in order to overcome this fear, it requires you to cultivate self-confidence and to recognize that your unique voice is needed in the world. So depending on where this wounding started, it can mean that you have to do shadow work, that you have to go into the core wound of why you feel like you cannot share your truth, why you are afraid of being judged for who you are, for what you express. It can be something as simple as a situation in your childhood where you couldn't be part of a group of children because they dismissed you, they cast you out. It can be something like that. And going into this wounding and feeling the emotions from back then already can help you to mend this wound and to start healing from it. What I see in a lot of my clients in the beginning is that they assume that they are afraid of judgment for their spiritual beliefs. But when we dig deeper into it, it most likely is not the case. They are pretty confident in their spiritual beliefs, and they are okay with people not understanding them in that regard. The true wounding comes from an emotional place. They are afraid to feel like this little child that couldn't be part of a friends group, or they feel like this person who was bullied at work because they were different, or they just were the victim of the whole company. It can be so many things, and it most likely isn't directly connected to you fearing your spiritual expression. Especially as a light worker, you have this inherent knowing that you are meant to share your wisdom with the world. So whatever wounding you may feel around this and around being judged, it most likely is not coming from a soul level, from you not being able to share your spiritual beliefs. It's coming from a human wounding that you have experienced in your life during this time that you've been on earth. So that is my biggest advice for this type of fear. When fearing the judgment of others, when you share your spiritual beliefs and your truth, dig a little deeper and find out if the root is actually your spiritual wisdom that you are afraid to share, or if it's a wounding that is very human. The inner critic and limiting beliefs often tell aspiring spiritual creators that they aren't experienced enough, enlightened enough, or knowledgeable enough to guide others. And because that happens, the fear of not being enough becomes really present in those who want to step up, who want to level up. This fear is often rooted in perfectionism and also a lot in comparison. You may feel like you fall short compared to others who seem more advanced on their spiritual journey, or who may have it figured out in your perception, or people who generally just seem more advanced on their spiritual journey. This fear often leads to massive procrastination. So you may be in that space where you wanted to start a business for years, or you tell yourself every year on New Year's Eve, this is going to be my year. This is going to be the year where I start blowing up on social media, where I start posting my content, and where everything changes for me. And you never actually do it. You always postpone it. You always think it's not the time yet. Maybe next year. You always find a new date for you to really take it seriously. And it never happens, out of fear, out of hesitation. And it can keep you from ever launching your business. I don't want you to be in that place. That's why I'm sharing so much free content with you and with my community to empower you to step forward and start your journey as a light worker, start your journey as a spiritual content creator, as a business owner. It's so important that all the light workers are stepping up, coming into their power, and just sharing what they are meant to share here. It's actually crucial to understand that you are a light worker with a unique and authentic energy, and with unique and authentic experiences and wisdom that is valuable to those you are meant to help. And comparing yourself doesn't work. It doesn't even make sense. If you compare yourself to a completely different divine mission that they have to fulfill, you cannot even compare that to yours. Yes, they may feel like they are more advanced, or they talk about more advanced topics. They have deeper content. They have a more professional website, whatever it is. But first of all, they may have been in business for 5+ years. You don't know how long they've taken to actually get where they are now. And you also don't know how much has happened behind the scenes that you didn't even realize. Most people don't experience an overnight success. It just looks like that on social media because they get to the point of working on something for years, realigning, restructuring, pausing, getting unsure of what they want to do, doubting themselves, starting again. And then finally they get to the point where everything aligns and they blow up. And then it looks to you like it was an overnight success, but it wasn't. It was a long ass journey, just as long as yours. And they have been on that journey for maybe longer than you will ever be on your journey before your business blows up and before you align with what you are meant to align with. So you cannot compare in that sense. Second of all, we all have different Lightworker missions. So if they are talking about a certain topic that is perceived as deeper or more advanced than what you want to talk about, than what you feel passionate about sharing, it's not necessarily the case that their content is more advanced. It's just for a different audience. They have a different mission. They feel called to a different message that they want to share in the world. And yours is different from theirs. And that is what's meant to happen. If all Lightworkers on Earth had the exact same content, the exact same message, the exact same depth of our topics, of our content, we would only reach a fraction of the people that we are meant to reach. There is a teacher for everyone out there, for the beginners, for the advanced people, for the people who are interested in topic A and topic B. We need Lightworkers for every one of those who want to learn. So your mission may be really different from who you are comparing yourself to. And it's only doing yourself harm if you feel less worthy then, if you feel like you have to be like them, because that's not the case. You have to be like yourself. Starting a spiritual business online comes with the risk of not meeting your personal expectations and the expectations of others. You may fear that your efforts to offer healing, guidance, mentorship, or spiritual insights might not resonate, or even worse, might lead to more harm than good. And that often is rooted in the fear of failure. This is a horrible fear to have because it can be so paralyzing. It's making everything more difficult, and it's making it difficult for you to take the first step to even align with the business, with the life you desire. So the one thing I can recommend to you and advise you to do to overcome this fear is to shift your perspective from fearing failure around every corner to embracing each experience as a learning opportunity, and to trust that the right people will be drawn to your work, and knowing that you will always act with integrity. This fear of failure and this fear of doing more harm than good comes from a lack of self-confidence and lack of self-trust. Because if you are 100% sure, and if you trust yourself that you are always acting from a place of integrity, you will not harm others. You will not harm innocent people with the work, with the value you have to share. That's quite impossible. If you act from a place of integrity, you would speak up and let them know if your client is asking you for something that is outside of your expertise. You can just communicate that. It doesn't make you less of a mentor, less of a guide. It doesn't make your work less valuable. It's just a boundary that you need to set, and you have to trust yourself that you do that whenever you feel like something is outside of your scope of abilities. So the fear of failure in that sense, that you do more harm than good, is not necessary if you trust yourself that you always just act and work in your realm of expertise, in the things that you know will and can help others. And you cannot confuse that with not feeling like you're good enough to do something, because it can be easy to say, okay, I'm not good at this, I'm not good at that, and it's completely coming from self-doubt. You first have to realize what you are good at, what you are meant to do here. And that's why I work a lot on the clarity aspect with my clients. They first have to know on the soul level what their soul came here to do, what their Lightworker mission is. And then the confidence comes almost naturally, because they know, okay, this is my scope of topics that I'm meant to share about, that I'm meant to guide others with and help them with and support them with. And this is outside of my expertise. That is for someone else. My client needs to have someone else for that. So there is always a lot of integrity needed from a good mentor, from a good guide. And if you trust yourself enough, if you know what your mission is and what your mission is not, You don't have to be afraid to fail or to do more harm than good. Stepping into the public eye and into the spotlight of the internet can be daunting, especially in the spiritual realm where vulnerability and authenticity are key. So if you want to show up in the spiritual realm, in the spiritual community, and you try to put on a fake persona that is not truly you, it most likely won't work. It won't build you a business that resonates with people and that gives you a lot of clients. And that is what makes it so scary. You cannot become an alter ego and just be this internet persona like you could do in fashion or in some other niche. You have to be yourself. You have to find as much self-expression inside of you to let it out as possible. And you have to find the clarity who you are, what you came here to do, and how to express that. It's a very big challenge in the beginning. You may fear the exposure that comes with being visible on social media. You may worry about how you will be perceived or if you will even attract negative attention. Those are very common worries in the beginning stages of building your social media and building your spiritual business. This fear can manifest as a resistance to sharing personal stories, sharing videos, or even doing anything live, like live sessions, webinars. Anything live can be really, really hard to do in the beginning because we are so scared. And the path to overcoming this fear involves owning your power and finding passion and liberation in self-expression. You have to get to a point where you actually enjoy expressing yourself and where you realize that we have such a great opportunity at this time, at the age of Aquarius, to make it our job to express our soul mission. It is such a huge blessing that is also so scary. But once you realize it's more a blessing than something to be scared of, it becomes easier and it becomes fun and you become more passionate about it, about the actual showing up, about the people knowing you, about people asking you for advice and for guidance. You actually become passionate about all the things that you are so scared of in the beginning. And again, it's all about clarity, finding strength in yourself, gaining the clarity you need so that you don't feel you're just throwing out content and hope it will stick with people and don't even feel really passionate about that. You really want to find the clarity and the guidance from within that tells you what your exact steps are. That is why I'm working so much on clarity, on remembering your divine mission with my clients. That is the sole reason for that, because it influences all these fears and it helps you so much to overcome them. Another thing that I want to mention is that walking a spiritual path can sometimes feel lonely. And the fear of this isolation getting more and more can be a significant blockage in your self-expression, in you moving forward. And you may worry that by dedicating yourself to your online business, you will disconnect from friends and family. That is the fear of spiritual loneliness. Whenever you are on a spiritual mission, on a spiritual path, there is a certain level of loneliness in the beginning, at least, when you don't have anyone to talk about your wisdom, about your evolution, about the processes that happen within and outside of you. And you just feel very distanced from everyone else, and you begin to have a very different perception of reality than most people. So this spiritual isolation really kicks in. You may also fear that your spiritual evolution will create a distance between yourself and others who don't understand and don't share your path and have a different perception of the world. To overcome this fear, it's important to surround yourself with supportive communities, with people who understand you. May that be online or offline. We have the gift of the internet. We have the opportunity to connect with people outside of our hometown easily through social media, through mentorship, through joining a community. In some way, you have to find people who are like-minded. And these people ideally also have the same goals and they celebrate you for your journey, for your evolution. They are not weirded out by it or try to squeeze you back into the box that you were in before. They are celebrating you for whatever is on your path and whatever you are evolving into. What also really helps to overcome this fear is that you must realize that you can always openly communicate with your friends and family. Even if you are on a different path than they are, you are not completely isolated from them. There is not just this one thing holding you together with your friends, with your family. There are so many different aspects of life where you still can meet and where you still can find a common ground. It's not all about your spiritual path once you become a much more spiritual person than you have been before. There is so much to still experience and still connect over with your friends, with your family. The important thing is that you do not let yourself be held back by the fear of spiritual isolation or spiritual loneliness and hinder your own soul evolution. From a human level, this may feel like the most easy way, like just don't go further on your spiritual journey, cut off the spiritual path, and just go back to normal. But on a soul level, that is very painful, that is very damaging. And that is not something you should do to yourself. And you will not end up happy doing that for the sake of fitting in, for the sake of not feeling that loneliness that may come up. And you never know how your loved ones will react. I've had clients tell me that they were so afraid to openly share about their spiritual experiences, and now they have their whole family booking energy healing sessions from them. So you never know how people will react. Maybe you were born in the family you are in to be that catalyst for other people around you, for other loved ones to find their own truth or to question some things. You never know that. Just don't let yourself be hindered in your own growth and evolution and in reaching your highest potential just because you're so afraid to end up alone, because you won't. The desire to help others can lead you to taking on too much too soon. That's something I also see in people who are being burned out after trying to build their business. They are taking on too much pressure and they want to do too many things at once. They don't start out with the clarity and with this one path that will lead to everything else. Many spiritual content creators fear that the responsibilities of managing an online business and creating content and supporting their audience, their clients, all the things you need to do might become overwhelming. The fear of overwhelm, that is another fear I want to talk about. To manage this fear, it's very present, it's very normal to have in the beginning, but to manage this fear, it's essential for you to establish boundaries, to prioritize self-care as a part of your job, and to remember that you can serve others best when you are balanced and grounded yourself. In practical terms, what that means is that with my clients, we prioritize self-care and the nourishment of their own soul as part of their working schedule. That is something that feels very unnatural for a lot of my clients in the beginning because they are not used to having rest as part of their work schedule. Especially if you work with energy as a spiritual mentor, as a spiritual guide, or in any way with giving energy to others. It's super important to recharge ourselves, and it is a non-negotiable to find ways to recharge, to rebalance, to open up our channels again, and to allow the creativity to flow freely. So that is 100% necessary to put that in your work schedule. You're not being lazy. It just may feel too good to be true because you are conditioned to sacrifice your life for money. So a lot of people, like everyone basically, is conditioned in a way that we feel like or we perceive it as okay if we sacrifice our life and our time to a job that we actually hate and not enjoy, but then we get money back as a compensation. And a lot of people really struggle with the mindset shift of enjoying your work and being compensated for what you love to do. It's a real struggle for a lot of my clients in the beginning to shift their mindset to that state of receiving, of enjoying what you do, of waking up in the morning and having a day in front of you where you enjoy every part, except doing taxes maybe. But every part that you choose to do is filling your soul. It is fulfilling your mission. It is activating you on some level. And that is something a lot of people have to get used to. And they feel like it's too good to be true. And they sabotage themselves by taking on too much too soon because they're so used to burning themselves out, to sacrificing precious time in order to make money, or just because they're used to work being like this. Fully stepping into your spiritual power can be intimidating. And that is when the fear of leadership kicks in. First of all, you may have an association with the word leadership that is rather negative. You may feel like it is about gaining power, it is about controlling others, it's about all these negative things. If that is the case, I want to invite you to reframe what a leader is to you. To me, a leader is a powerful woman who is fully expressed in herself, who is inspiring others to make their life a work of art and follow their mission, follow their higher calling. And this woman confidently and boldly shows up in her fullest expression. She doesn't care what other people think about her. She doesn't submit herself to the system. She doesn't obey the mindset that we are all being pushed in, like this limited victim mindset. She has a powerful mindset. She empowers herself. She's not blinded by the darkness of the world. She is a visionary. She brings light to this world, and she takes action, and she's connected to her cosmic self and her soul mission, and so many other things. That was just the first things that came to my mind when I thought of a leader. So reframe that for yourself. A leader is not a political a-hole. A leader is not a dictator. A leader is not someone who is on top of a hierarchy. A leader is someone who is leading humanity and the collective into a new earth vibration with love, with inspiration, with community, with all these positive traits. What many women fear is the potential impact of their influence, and they worry whether they are ready to take on the responsibility that comes with being a leader in the spiritual community. What I have to say about this is that if you have pure intentions, there is nothing to fear. It's the same thing with fear of failure. If you have integrity, you don't have to be afraid that you will lead people astray. If you have pure intentions, you won't be a bad leader. This fear can only trap you in cycles of self-sabotage, and it's keeping you small. It lets you play small. If you are afraid to be a leader, you will never truly think big. You will never truly reach your full potential. A leader is not someone who has people beneath them. A true leader is someone who makes other people their own leaders. It's all about self-leadership. It's all about empowering others to make up their own mind, to have their own thoughts, own opinions, own empowerment from within. That is a true leader. Your power is not something to shy away from. It is a gift meant to uplift and transform others and meant to guide others with. To overcome this fear, you have to embrace your power with trust, with knowing that you are divinely guided and supported every step of the way, and also that it's time to rise and share your gifts boldly. In the age of Aquarius, that is exactly what you are meant to do. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here right now, incarnated at this time with this desire to make a change in the world, to put your puzzle piece into the bigger puzzle, and to be part of this movement of change, of moving to a higher vibration. I really hope hearing about all these fears helped you to realize that you're not alone when you have them, that you're not alone in overcoming them, and that so many before you have managed to overcome them so they could thrive and they can do what they do now. And also a little reminder that these fears may pop up again. Even the most successful people, even the most powerful spiritual entrepreneurs and content creators, they may feel some of these fears sometimes, but they are so connected to their path and to their mission that they know it's worth conquering these fears and overcoming them over and over and over again, and seeing them as initiations that always pop up when we are about to level up. So if you are having these fears right now, it means that you have the opportunity to change your timeline, to change your life, and to level up entirely. And then think of yourself in a couple of years. You are in a very different place in your life. You have a very different reality. You have reached a lot of your goals, and these fears pop up again. What does that mean? Does it mean that you should stop now and hide away and just stop everything you do? No. It means that you have to conquer them again, because you are about to level up big time. You are about to rise to a new version of self that needs to be reminded of her own power by overcoming these fears again and again in a different version. So having these fears is not a negative thing. It's a symptom of you leveling up, of you ascending to a higher timeline on a soul level, and it's a symptom of you taking back your power. As always, I hope this was valuable for you and it activated something within you. You can follow me on Instagram and TikTok. It's @IsabelGloria if you want more content and more to dive into. And that being said, I'm wishing you a wonderful, wonderful week. We will talk next Sunday. Bye bye.